Hey everyone, I am Ian from Tone Hi-Fi, and different kind of video for you today. I recently picked up this Honda Navi. This is a 2023 6,500 miles, and I bought it off somebody non-running for a very low price. To be honest, I have owned a bunch of Honda, both motorcycles and scooters, from the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. Guys said that the engine wasn't running, and I honestly thought that there was a decent chance that maybe carburetors were gummed up, maybe it was something pretty minor, because I've never had serious engine issues on any of the Hondas that I've had. But it does turn out that the crankshaft bearing on this guy, the connecting rod bearing here, is actually pretty screwed up. Of course, it's not going to stick for me on camera. If I rotate this enough times, yeah, it'll kind of get locked up. That's pretty crazy wear for a bike that is 3 years old with 6,500 miles. I know these bikes have a big cult following and there's a big community for modifying them like crazy. And honestly, I think that's great. But I wanted to make this video to help prevent your Navi from having an early death. My experience with Hondas in the past, like I said, is that they will last a long, long time. I have no reason to believe that this engine's any different. If you ever get a bike that's pretty thrash, you have to do a little bit of detective work and kind of figure out, this thing's broken, what caused that, what kind of life did this bike live. I think it's possible that this bike never had an oil change and eventually it just ended up killing the engine. If you buy this bike brand new, I believe the first oil change is supposed to be done at like 600 miles. I don't know if they do that under like warranty or what, but you should follow the precautions that Honda has. After the initial oil change, you should do an oil change every 2,500 miles. Now, if you know a thing or two about cars, that sounds kind of crazy. Why do I have to change my oil every 2,500 miles? Is that the dealership trying to scam me and make money back on this really cheap bike? No. Motorcycle engines are a lot different than car engines. They are under a lot more stress, and that is kind of even more true when it comes to scooters, because they have a continuously variable transmission, and that is essentially designed to keep the engine at its maximum RPM pretty much all the time. That means it just needs a little bit more care. So 2,500 miles, reasonable. There is no reason to skimp out on oil changes for this bike. It is stupidly easy to do. It should take you 5 minutes. It needs like a quart of oil. I think it's like, 0.8 quarts or something like that. Really, really cheap. There's a little like filter screen on it that you should clean out as well. Do your oil changes. I won't spend any more time on it. Just make sure that you do that 2,500 miles, maybe more frequently if you have a lot of mods. Second thing, just having to do with carburetors. Like I said, good chance that you haven't had a carbureted bike before if you own a Navi. Carburetors, people get scared. People are not familiar with them. I really like carbureted bikes because they are easy to diagnose, easy to dial in. You don't have to buy a fuel remapper, fancy computer box. You don't have to worry about electronics that don't work. It is all mechanical. Carburetors do need a little bit of attention. You have to be kind of aware of what the bike's doing. In particular, something that may happen if you live in a cold climate, or maybe if you just don't ride your bike for months at a time, you will want to put the bike kind of in storage mode. In order to do that, you're going to take, this is called the petcock here. This allows fuel to drain from the gas into the carburetor. If it is in the up position, that is for reserve. So if you're run out of gas, you've got a little bit left that way. This middle position here is going to be off. So if you're going to not ride your bike for a while, put the petcock to the left position. And then you'll also want to take your carburetor, and there's a little tube that comes out of here, a little flathead screw. You want to turn that counterclockwise to drain the fuel out that is in the bowl. Gas, when it sits for several weeks and months and years, it becomes kind of thick, and it can start gunking things up. Pretty much any time if you have a carbureted bike that has sat for a while, it's not going to run. The carburetors are going to be gummed up. So real easy thing to just save yourself a headache and not have to clean them out all the time if you're putting it in storage. In the same vein, let's say that you maybe you've just been riding a lot, maybe you've taken your bike out of storage, and the bike's not running right. Maybe it's running, but it's running weird. But, you know, cleaning my carburetor seems like kind of a pain. Why don't I just buy a new carburetor? Now, I don't want to poo-poo this. Upgrading your carburetor can be good performance. It can you know, get you some extra power out of your engine, but you don't want to just grab a carburetor off the shelf, toss it in the bike, and call it a day. I'm not going to walk you through how to tune carburetors in this video. It's a little beyond the scope, but I have linked in the description a video for what I think is the best video on working with carbs, getting your bike running right. Moving on. Another thing, whether or not you have modifications for this bike, is valve clearance checks. If you've never worked on bikes before, this might sound kind of scary. Valves are at the top end of the engine. This is a service that is supposed to be done every 2,500 miles on this bike. All right, so this is the top end of our engine, as you can see here. And these guys here and here are the valves for our engine. And then you have two nuts, one on either side for your intake and exhaust. And you are supposed to get in here with a little feeler gauge with the engine top end setter and check the clearances every 2,500 miles. I promise you this is not a hard job to do, but if it does sound like something that you are not comfortable doing, you should take it to the dealership and get this done. It's probably not a bad idea to just take your bike to the dealership and have them do an oil change, have them do a valve check for you. This is not something that is likely to kill your engine necessarily, but it will hurt performance. What can happen is if let's say your intake and exhaust valves, if they're a little bit too tight, that means that the engine is not getting enough air in and it's not being able to exhaust enough air out. So that will just reduce performance. If you want to keep your bike running top form, make sure that you have just the basics done before you start throwing, you know, $800 worth of mods at it, trying to get more power. Moving on. So this bike has what's called a continuously variable transmission, which means that you just twist the throttle and the bike moves. There's technically no gears, and CVTs are really fun to tinker with. You can adjust your acceleration and top speed by doing things as simple as swapping out the rollers. Let me grab the rollers. So this is the variator. This goes on the side of the bike. If you take off your, it's normally like right over here, kind of by your rear wheel. You see in here you have rollers, and you can adjust these to a lighter size in order to adjust, you know, top speed and acceleration and things like that. Dropping everything. Every single scooter that I've owned, actually, except for one, I have adjusted the rollers. I think that's a totally safe mod. You don't really need to do it. You're doing that much, and you can get more performance for really cheap. But one thing I'll caution you about is that you will want to keep an eye on the transmission housing. So when you do adjust rollers, whether you do or don't, what you'll see is that the belt will wear over time, and that results in a bunch of kind of fine black dust. And what that can do is over time, it can cause your rollers to get a little sticky or wear excessively. It can also cause your belt to start slipping. And then cause even more wear on the belt. Good idea. Honda recommends, I think it's every 5,000 miles, that you should open that up, check it, get it cleaned out. You don't want all that gunk hurting your performance. If you do have mods to get a higher top speed, I'd recommend looking at this more frequently, maybe every 3,000 miles or so. On that topic, when I bought this bike, it did have an aftermarket clutch. This is a Ravino clutch, and I pulled this off because that is not a good sound for a clutch to make. So this has these, it's like a lighter weight clutch, and there's all these clutch pads in here, and I honestly don't know. I know these are a pretty popular mod. I don't know if this was installed improperly. Again, not a lot of miles on this, but this is shot. This needs to be like rebuilt. I looked at the rebuild kits, and they're like $150 just for the rebuild kit, so I'm just kind of pushing that to the side for right now. But I bring that up because this bike had kind of a weird issue when I got it. The owner told me that the cooling fan on the side of the bike had exploded, and then not long after that, the engine stopped running. Now, it seemed unlikely to me that the cooling fan blowing up would result in like catastrophic engine failure. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it was probably a symptom of a more serious problem. The way that this works on the bike is you've got your crankshaft, and then on this side of it, you have kind of your stator, got a disc, and then this goes onto it like that. To massively simplify what's going on here. So that makes me think if there was vibration going on either over here or on the other side that caused the fan to blow up, it's not that surprising that the crankshaft failed too. Now, I'm not sure exactly what happened with this, but a thought that I had is that this aftermarket part being shot and probably vibrating around a lot more than it should, connected to through a belt through the other side of the engine to the crankshaft, it doesn't seem unreasonable to me that this aftermarket clutch going bad, rattling around like crazy, could have resulted in the ultimate failure of this bike. I don't know if this is a bad part, if it was not machined properly. I think it's very likely that whoever installed it improperly, but that's still a lesson to learn from. Modifying these bikes can be a lot of fun, and I don't discourage that at all. But I do want to caution you that it's not as simple as seeing something online, throwing it on the bike, and having better performance. You want to take your time installing this stuff. You want to make sure that you're doing your maintenance and that you're doing some research and figuring out if other people have similar problems. I would just hate for you to buy this bike for like $2,000, spend another $1,000 on modifications, and then your engine blows up a year later. Now, I'm in the middle of waiting on some parts for this bike, which is why everything's just in pieces right now, but I'm looking forward to getting it all reassembled very soon. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. I'm Ian from Tone Hi-Fi, and I'll catch you guys later.